let's talk about the medical disclaimer before we get in to the talk. And so, yeah, officially I will give away $900 today, maybe more. We'll see what happens. The information provided for this slide deck is for educational reasons only. It's not for medical advice or substitute for a physician or qualified healthcare professional. It shouldn't be used for sales. It really is so that we can discuss information about diseases and problems, and it's confidential. This is so that you guys can help your own bodies and help people understand different ingredients that can really help them naturally. And I think it's really important that we address this in a scientific way. So we are going to talk about sexual health and supplementation today, and how we can have the best sex lives possible and the safest sex lives possible. So let's talk about sexual health, and let's talk about supplements. Let's be honest with each other. Sexual health is crucial to overall well-being. It's really a natural process. It's not something we need to be embarrassed about. We need to address it proactively. We recognize this. We support sexual health, both externally and internally. We understand how important it is to human beings and how it's part of our existence. We could not have children without sexual health, or we could, but we couldn't have as many children as we can, because we want to have sex in order to really produce the healthiest options possible. I think it's really important because at this time of our lives, there are some countries that are having less and less children and having a lot less sex. For example, in Japan, they're having a major issue because people are on social media constantly, or doing online chats, and they're not actually having physical sex. And they're raising generation of boys, or females and males, where they're more comfortable looking at pornography or looking on social media for sex rather than actually having the physical contact. And it's a proven fact that holding someone, for example, for 20 seconds a day actually increases the wellness and health factors of that individual, because emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and sexually, you need that contact, right? That's a part of being an adult, and it's really important that we address this. There's substances in our environment, like heavy metals and toxins, that actually interfere with positive sex lives. And there's a misconception. People think that the older you get, the less sex you want to have. That's actually not correct. The problem is, the older you get, if your body isn't healthy and you're not detoxing and you're not supporting it, then you lose some of your sexual desire and some of your sexual ability, and you really aren't harnessing who you need to be. So let's talk about this today. How can this community be the safest and healthiest sex community that you can have? And again, this is not something that embarrasses me at all. I can tell you guys that I used to work with prostitutes, actually, as a psychologist, and I in a lot of different environments where I had to talk about sexual health, and I had to address it and make sure people were protected, and also make sure that people understood it. I also worked in different marriage counseling situations where I had to help people that were having problems with their sex lives at home, and I had to address that as a psychologist. So as a scientist, as a mother, as a wife, and as a psychologist, I understand this topic, and it's a topic we need to talk about more. Ted said earlier they talked me into doing this, and here's the truth. It wasn't that I didn't want to do it. I think there's a huge need for a scientist, doctor, psychologist to talk about sexual health. We used to, in the United States, have a lady named Dr. Ruth that addressed it. We haven't had anyone in a long time. It's a topic you really have to understand, and you have to handle appropriately. It's not a topic that someone needs to be embarrassed about, but for some reason, a lot of people won't take this on head on. I have zero problem doing it. I understand how important it is to our happiness, to our mental and emotional health, and I think it's something that we need to discuss openly. So let's discuss what is the first step, in my perspective, that people need to take to make sure that they are doing stuff that impacts their body. Clean slate is something that I feel like is integral to a good sex life. From my opinion, you need to use a product like this or this product. And of course, I made this product, so I think it's extremely important. You've got to clean out your body. So your sexual organs, I'm just going to tell everyone on this call, hold on to heavy metals, pollution, stress, negative energy in order. And also your sexual organs hold on to viruses, parasites, fungus, and bacteria. This is something people don't understand. Everyone understood that the pandemic was something that you had to be 6 feet away, supposedly, right? But yet people would ask me all the time, can I get COVID from my spouse or my significant other or my sexual partner? And my thing is, this is common sense. Of course you can. You're not 6 feet away. You're kissing, and even if you're not kissing, if you're having sex in any format, you're exchanging bodily fluids. So anything that's in their body, whether it's fungus or parasites or viruses or bacteria, can be exchanged. As a scientist and doctor that worked for pharmaceutical and biotech, I saw this all the time. I worked on a product called diflucan, which is for fungus. So let me just lay it out here because it's not on the slides. You can get jock itch, right? Men get jock itch where they have fungus all around their penises and the part around that all over their body. Women get fungal infections on their vagina. What people don't understand and doctors don't educate enough about is that's transferable. So if your significant other you're having sex with has a yeast infection as a female, or the man has a jock infection, we call it in the United States jock itch. It's where you have fungus on the penises or the balls or everything around the sexual organs. You have sex, you're exchanging that fungus. So technically, if a woman or a man have that, they should both take an antifungal because they're both being exposed to that. And one of the reasons women keep having UTIs, urinary tract infections, and they're treated with an antibiotic or an antifungal. So maybe they're taking Zithromax or they're taking diflucan. This is a typical individual in life. They don't understand that if they're having sex with their sexual partner, their partner is getting that bacteria or that fungus, then the lady that started with it gets better, but she gets it again the next month or the month after that. Why? Very, very simple. She gave it to her male partner or her other partner, and then she got it again because they weren't treated. So anyone that has a bacterial, fungal, parasitic, viral infection should be treated the same way if they're going to have sex during that period. One of the solutions that the root community has is Clean Slate to really help the body break apart some of these things and get them out of everyone's system. So let's go on to the next slide. Detoxification and sexual health. Again, when you talk about sexual health, I've already given you a really strong visual of what happens when you're sick and you have sex with your significant other if you're both not being treated with either a natural supplement like ours or a pharmaceutical option. And I always say the natural way is the best way. You are exchanging this with each other. And it's going to be a continuous thing. You're both going to keep getting sick unless you address it, both of you at the same time. And if you have more than one sexual partner, that applies to you even more, because whether you know it or not, when you have a virus, let me use HIV. When you have HIV, if you have sex with another person that has HIV, you could use hepatitis in this, you could use gonorrhea, you could use COVID, whatever disease you want to pick. If you are having sex with the other person, they probably have a different mutation of that bacteria or that fungus or that virus than you have. So what happens when both of you are sick, but you think we're safe, we're both sick, we're having sex together, but we're both sick? No, you're so wrong. You both are exchanging different mutations of that virus, that bacteria, that fungus, and you're just going to get worse, which means you both have to address the problem at the same time and get rid of it. So going on to detoxification and sexual health, because I think what I just said is very, very important for everyone on this phone, on this Zoom call to understand. I used to work with HIV and Hep C. And we would have so many patients that would have sex with each other and die because they both thought they had the same virus, but they didn't. They had different mutations of that virus. So I want everyone in this community to understand that. And that applies to COVID, that applies to respiratory viruses, the flu, everything. There's different mutations that change like this, and you've got to address it at the same time. Let's talk about hormonal imbalances. So a lot of women will get a yeast infection because their hormones are off. You've got to really balance that. And I think we have a whole product line that really helps with that. We'll talk about that today. That's really important to be addressed. Also, oxidative stress is hugely important. When you have stress in your body, then your body can't even function or process vitamin C, vitamin zinc, vitamin D3. Your body is basically holding it. It's all bound up. And you need those vitamins and minerals in order to have a great sex life. Otherwise, you have damage on a cellular level. What happens when you have damage on a cellular level? When you have damage on a cellular level, it impacts every organ in your body. That means when you, as a female or a male, think, why do I not want to have sex? Why am I not interested? There's a lot of cellular level reasons. It's not just mental. It's not just emotional. It has to do with your whole stress of your body. So whether you're a man or a woman, it's really important that you address that. Your immune function is also very important. Immune function is weakened by environmental factors like heavy metals, pollution, viruses, bacteria, et cetera, et cetera. You've got to address it. And let's talk about circulation and blood flow. And this can be a huge issue for men, especially. When you don't have good circulation and blood flow, then you have a lot of problems as it pertains to sexual health. The weight loss program and the peptide formula that's coming out is going to address a lot of that, but your immune defense support is something else that really supports the body, along with the Trinity and Relive Greens, to really help in this area so that the circulation is working correctly. And I just wrote a 40-page paper on this that we will push out in January of next year, which we will really discuss sexual health and how the root products can impact people in this area. I want everyone on this Zoom to understand this is not an embarrassing topic. This is a topic that every human should have, and it's something that everyone should discuss with their customers and with their network and their community. So let's talk about the zeolite and Clino and how we've used a particular type of formulation that we made into a silica, that I made into a silica, that can really help. Clino really helps with detoxifying everything. There's lots of articles that talk about the positive impact on sexual health. So the origin of Clean Slate started from a zeolite, Clino, that then I took the silica out and made it in its purest form and took out anything that had to do with the heavy metals so that this would be something that could really help the body detoxify. That's important. Why? It's important because your body has to be as healthy as it can be. It also is important because your immune system needs support, and that sexually transmitted diseases are very contagious. In order for your body to resist infection, it's good. I say good. It's very important that you take things that can help your body get rid of things like sexually transmitted diseases. At some point, you may need something stronger. That doesn't mean you don't use protection with someone that you're having sex with that you don't know. You should always use protection. It doesn't mean that you can just go out and have sex with everyone because you're on Clean Slate or Clean Spirits. What it means is, it doesn't mean any of that. What it means is you've really got to continuously give your body what it takes so that it can really break apart things and support this overall system. This is your body. This is your temple. This is your house. So clean it out. And part of cleaning it out is cleaning out the sexual organs and the rest of your body. Your sexual organs don't even work if the rest of the bodies don't work, of your body doesn't work. So you are really impacting this whole body and taking care of this body. If you want to have sex when you're 80, 90 years old, then you've got to take care of your body. If you want to have sex in a safe way, in a productive way, in the best way possible when you're in your 20s, and your 30s, same thing. It all applies. This is your body. You've got to take care of it. And another fact about this is Yes, Clino is known to be an antiviral. It is something that can help your body. It also helps with different things like bacteria and fungus and parasites and bacteria. We can't claim we fix everything, but the key ingredients in Clean Slate and Clean Spirits are definitely there to detoxify and help resist the type of sexually transmitted diseases that we know in the next 5 years will be the worst viruses that are out there. We know they will be sexually transmitted. And this is something that's been predicted for a long time. It's something that's already happening. And it doesn't matter how old you are, it applies to everyone on this phone call. Let's talk about vitamin C next. Vitamin C is really important to your immune system. It's crucial. So when your body, it comes in contact with a sexually transmitted disease, and there's tons of them. I'm just letting everyone know. There's tons of them. The likelihood that people on this phone or on this Zoom call have not been exposed to a sexually transmitted disease is almost zero, even if you've had one partner. I'm just being honest. I don't know if you heard me. Zero. Even if you've had one partner. Most people at some format, even in the birth canal or when they're born, are exposed in some format to sexually transmitted disease of some format. It's just that we don't talk about it a lot. And it's not a topic that a lot of doctors are comfortable talking about. So you've really got to support your immune system. You've really got to help your body. And vitamin C is really, really important to that. That's why your vitamin C is added to things like Clean Slate. It's added to things like your Zero N. It's in Relive Greens. It's basically in all of our products in one format or another. And again, it's because it's essential, because your mucous membranes are one of the things that really prevent infections. You've got to protect the mucous membranes of the body, whether it's your eyes, your ears, your mouth, your nose, and your sexual organs, right? You've got to make sure that you're protecting that. And one of the ways to do that is by using heavy doses of vitamin C. So one of the reasons it's so important. So let's talk about Restore next. So you guys know that I'm a huge proponent of black cumin seed and resveratrol and turmeric and raspberry ketones and apple cider vinegar and aloe vera and D-ribose. But what you may not know is the benefit of that is it supports bone health, blood pressure, and antioxidants. But another benefit of all of those ingredients is that they really, really help with your blood flow and your ability to fight things. If you look at the individual articles with resveratrol and turmeric, as well as apple cider vinegar and aloe vera, black cumin seed, all of those, they all have healthy sexual components, because what they're doing is they are helping the body provide barriers to anything that is sexually transmitted. And at the same time, they are helping the healthy cells thrive. People don't realize how important that is to health. I just explained in the beginning how much immune support is important. I explained blood pressure and blood flow and how important. I explained inflammation and antioxidant. If any of that cycle is off, you're not having the best sex you've ever had in your life. Do you care? I care. I'm going to say that again. If any of those components, the immune system, the blood pressure, antioxidants, inflammation, if any of that is off kilter, then your sex life is not the best it can be. Restore is important because it's there to restore the body, give your best health possible, and at the same time provide barricades and provide protection for the body so that the bad things don't give in. So two things with Restore. You're restoring the body so it's healthy and it can be the most productive machine it can be. And then you're causing these barriers so that things aren't coming in and you can keep the bad things out. And that's extremely, extremely important. So let's talk about turmeric. You guys know I love it. I use it in a lot of things. Sorry, we're going to black cumin seed. Let's talk about black cumin seed first. Black cumin seed is an important factor because of the hormonal modulation. That's extremely important. Animal studies suggest that basically black cumin seed can modulate sex hormones. Patrick, did you know that it, for example, it influences testosterone levels? It makes them higher?
No, but I'm learning so much from how good
Yeah.
Restore is.
So one of the things that's used in the African and Asian countries is black cumin seed when they have problems with testosterone. Turmeric is as well, There's another slide on here about that. It really will help the testosterone levels raise. So anytime you're taking, like, for a 6 to 8 hour period, when you have a high concentration of black cumin seed, your testosterone levels go up. So that may, when people say to me, what time of the day do I take Restore? That may give you a clue. Maybe you're taking Restore before you have sex, right? Take it 30 minutes to an hour before you have sex. That way your testosterone levels go up and you're more in the mood to have sex at that time. I think that's really important to tell you guys so that you understand it. So maybe you want to give it to your partner before they have sex. Maybe you guys want to have it at dinner or breakfast or whenever, so that you guys can handle sexual activity the right way. Anti-inflammatory properties. This is another thing. You guys saw the first slide, how inflammation will cause your sex drive to go down. And actually, men, if your inflammation is too high up, you won't be able to get an erection and have sex. So it's really important to support this inflammation by reducing it. And then your sex ability and wellness goes up. So again, you're going to support the body, so inflammation goes down. So your ability to maintain an erection stays up, and you can have a better sexual, intercourse. So that's something for people to really understand. Another thing is the antioxidants is extremely important. We know there's tons of articles that show that if the antioxidants are not appropriate in the body and the free radicals are rampant, then you do not have a good sex life. These are facts. These are scientific facts. And in this one product, with this one ingredient, we're addressing issues that can change people's lives. And if you say to me, it's just sex, you say to a man, what is the reason you're attracted to your wife or significant other? What is the reason you're here? You take sex away, that contributes to happiness overall for men and women. So you guys need to know that it's more about happiness. It's more than just sex. It's also about happiness and well-being and what people want to do with their life. Let's go on to the next slide. If we don't have turmeric, good, it's here. I was like, if we don't have turmeric, I've got to address it because this is huge. Again, you guys ask me all the time, why is this in all the products? Why do you have so much of this in the products? Why do you have vitamin C? Why do you have D3? Why do you have turmeric? Why do you have black cumin seed? I've worked now in 89 countries. I've gotten to work with some of the top experts in those countries and helped develop a medical school throughout Africa and South Africa. Turmeric is one of the things that's being used all over the world, just like black cumin seed and resveratrol, for sexual health. When you look at turmeric, there's lots of articles that show that it can even reduce sexual dysfunction. There's studies that show that men that are not able to have as long of sex as they want to have, or as intense of sex as they want to have, when you increase turmeric, they're able to achieve the sexual levels they want. Identically, women, there's studies on females and female animals that show the same thing, which is one of the reasons I thought it was so important to put in Zero In. We'll talk about that later. Zero In was really important to me because it started as a sexual health product for women that I was developing. And then what happened throughout the process, we started noticing that it was improving performance for men and women. So it's really important for you guys to understand how important the products that we have are, and how they impact emotional, mental, physical, spiritual, and sexual health. That's really important. And they're all, again, tied together. Whether you're a female that's with another female or a man that's with a man, it's irrelevant to me. I have to be honest. What matters to me is that people are happy and healthy in the individual state that they're in, and they get to achieve the level of happiness they want. And that means by supporting the body in all of these areas. I'm going to quickly go through this, but I want to point out something that I think will help you guys. Libido enhancement. Patrick, what does that mean?
Think energy, right?
Yeah, so libido is your sexual energy and your ability to basically feel sexual, like you want to have sex. Some people don't have any libido. They don't want to have sex. Men, if you're on this phone call and you are with a female, or women, if you're on this and you're with another female, it's harder for women to have an increased libido. Turmeric can increase your libido. And I wanted to point that out. It influences the hormones in the body. It supports, I don't have it on the slide, but it supports testosterone. and estrogen and progesterone. So it also helps with sleep and management of different things as well. But it does support all of this. And if you look at this, it has a positive effect for your testosterone level. Any man that's on this phone call, and even every female, because females have testosterone levels too. The lower the testosterone level is in men and women, the less likely they are to want to have sex. So this is very important that it was in our products for sexual health. Let's talk about resveratrol. So resveratrol is used again for testosterone levels, estrogen levels, and men and women need both, and cardiovascular health. There's direct correlations to consistency in sex, as well as the regular desire or libido to have sex, where there's been studies that showed that resveratrol is extremely helpful in those situations. Again, you guys are saying probably, why is no one talking about this? Because no one's talking about this. People are really uncomfortable talking about sex. I've had 4 children. It was hard for me to talk to my kids about sex. But it was easier because I was a psychologist and a scientist. So I probably brought up more scientific facts than they wanted to, especially with my 2 oldest ones. I was doing a lot with sexual diseases. I worked with HIV and Hep C. So I would get out the sexual books that I had from being a scientist and working throughout the world, and I would show them pictures of what happens when you get a sexually transmitted disease. And then I would tell them, whoever they choose to have sex with, they're imprinting upon them. And I still remember one of my sons, I won't mention his name, saying, what does that mean? And I said, that means they're a part of your life because they're transferring fluids between you. It's a fact, right? Spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and sexually you are. So you want to be with someone that's healthy. You want to be with someone that cares about their body. You want to be with someone that's into wellness, and you want to share the facts about the root products so that you can protect your body and you can protect their body. We all have a different idea of what sex looks like. We all have a different arrangement with whoever we're with. I'm in a monogamous relationship. I do not have sex outside my marriage. I'll say that very clearly. That does not happen. If it did happen, we would not be together. That's because that's what I want, right? But I know there's different people that want different things. So regardless of what you want, no one's here to judge you. That's your life. You get to do what you want, and you should do what you want. But you need to remember to protect yourself during sex, and you need to remember to take the right products so that you can enhance your sex life, so you have the best sex life possible, regardless of who you choose to have it with. Let's go on to vitamin D. So talking about vitamin D, I think it's really important, and it's in Zero In. Vitamin D has really great health properties. So it really helps with hormone regulation. I can't talk. And there's another slide in here that will talk about it. It also has the caffeine, which can stimulate and help you have a harder erection and a better orgasm. It also, it says HBO, but it's HTPT, and L-tyrosine and L-theanine. All of those, velvet bean, seed, pine bark, and turmeric, they all are essential formulas that really, really help. And I'm excited to tell you guys why they help and why this was a focus of a lot of the things that I worked on with this product. Here it talks about support and focus. How important do you think focus is while you're having sex? It's hugely important. When you look at scales of how happiness is achieved through sex, ability to focus on the time you're having sex is hugely important. And Zero In really zero ins on that because of the great ingredients that are inside. So let's go on to those ingredients. We already talked about vitamin D. We'll talk a little bit more about it, but let's go on to the rest of them. So Kreider, go on to the next slide. Patrick. Sorry, guys, we're going to have to be a little bit more focused, Ruth, to get through the rest of the deck. Vitamin D is so important. I have to tell you, it's important because it focuses on overall well-being and hormonal regulation. But Kreider, go on to the previous slide because I want to talk about the second fact. Let's talk about velvet bean, which he had on the other slide. Velvet bean is really important because, Kreider, you're going to have to go on to the next one. Sorry, guys. Yeah. So vitamin D, I don't really care if these are right, Patrick, but I can talk through them without it being on the slides, but we need to try to have it on the right one. Vitamin D is important because it impacts the immune system and the overall body, but adding velvet bean and seeds to that, I don't know if you guys know this, it's a type of almost hallucinogenic. It's not a mushroom, but it's something that you go to an increased dose, you almost have a euphoric effect, right? You feel like euphoric, like everything's better. It's because it increases the dopamine levels and it possibly could influence libido. The studies that I've read and the role that it plays in dopamine production show that it increases pleasure and desire. That's why those of you guys that take 0N every day like me, you're experiencing a better day, a more concentrated day. One of the reasons is the velvet bean and the way that it was implemented into 0N so that it would impact the whole body. The other thing that it's doing is influencing the hormones of the body. And again, testosterone is such a key important fact for all of the hormones in your body because testosterone impacts estrogen, progesterone as well. So you've got these three major components, right, that are really connected. And there's even more intricate sources of hormones as well. We won't get into all of it today, but it's really important because it influences the libido of the body. Again, libido, what is that? Your desire to have sex, your ability to have sex, your intensity of sex, that's your libido. And these impact them very significantly. And that's one of the reasons they're so important. And I don't think we have a slide on this, but the pine bark is the same way. Pine bark really goes in and supports the body and really causes the body to work synergetically. There's a study that we don't have on this slide that talks about pine bark and how pine bark was used in certain situations to increase fertility in some of the African countries, as well as to increase the ability for people to want to have sex. And it's something that I relied on heavily when I was working on this product because, again, the initial intent of 0N was for people to 0N and want to have sex, right? Instead, what we found is that people 0N and want to do whatever they want to do that day. But just know that when you hear people that have a sexual problem and they ask about 0N, we know they need to take Clean Slate. We know they need to take Restore, and we've already talked about why, but they also need to take 0N. And I would say, because people have asked me before, how much 0N do I need to take if I don't have a sex drive? And my answer to that is you probably need to take more than 2. So if you're dealing with a partner that's not interested in sex or doesn't have a sex drive, then you would want them to at least get to 2 pills of 0N or higher, because you really want them to be able to have their increased libido, to have the increased focus on hormones and neurotransmitters so that they're really wanting to achieve the sexual desire. One of the reasons women don't want to have sex, because I would say men predominantly want to have sex more than women. There is an emotional and mental connection to sex, especially for women. And I hate characterizing because we're all different. So when I say especially for, just know that we're all different. It doesn't matter if you're a female or a male, we're all different. Some women have a higher sex drive than men. So it's you know, it just depends. But I think 0N is so important, you guys, because it's impacting the sex drive, but it's also really helping from a mental and emotional perspective. And women really need to feel emotionally and mentally and spiritually connected. And a lot of men do too. I think that it's a misunderstanding for men to say that they don't feel a connection when they have sex with someone. So I'm going to stop and bring in some psychology here. One of the things that I understand, and I talked a little bit about it earlier about imprinting, is that people are connected. We're energetically connected. Our cells are talking. So what's happening when you're having sex? You're transferring energy. So you may want to have sex because someone's beautiful. You may want to have sex because you just really like being around them energetically. But just know this, whoever you're having sex with, you are exchanging energy on such an intimate level. Please don't ever think it doesn't matter, because you are connected to them in some format, and some kind of imprinting or piece of them is going to be with you for the rest of your life. So make sure that you choose your partners wisely. Make sure you know your decisions. And then again, make sure you're protected. Let's go on to the next slide. Natural barrier support. By the way, I do want to say this about clean spirits because I saw someone bring it up. Clean spirits is really important to be able to use during this process. And I'll talk about that a little later at the Q&A. You guys can also ask me some questions and I'll explain why, but I want to make sure I can get through this deck. I really want this to be a focus of the Root community next year when we go into the New Year, New You weight loss peptide program. We got to include the sexual health, right? Because that's something extremely important for us all overall. So natural barrier support, I'm going to tell you, vitamin D3, vitamin C, and zinc are extremely important. I just wrote this 40-page paper on it. It's so important because it basically blocks the infection and the inflammation and it boosts the immune system. It's extremely important that it does that in an effective way. You've got to have clean slate or clean spirits with that because you're going to detox and then you're going to supplement. But you got to have those vitamins in order to have the best sex life possible. And you've got to boost your immune system. People don't connect the fact that your immune system needs to be healthy in order to have the best sex life possible. That's a fact. So it's really important that we discuss this. And we're going to talk about zinc. So zinc is one of the important components within the natural barrier support. And zinc basically is something that we know helps with inflammation, helps with production of organs or reproduction, and really helps with fertility issues. Crider, you can go to the next slide. It also helps with hormone regulation. So zinc plays a role of basically testosterone and sexual function and libido overall. I have had so many people in this community send me questions, and I've said this before, or say that zinc isn't good for your body. Yes, it is. Your body needs zinc in order to function correctly. You got to support your immune system. You got to protect against sexually transmitted diseases. I don't think there's anyone on this phone call that wants a sexually transmitted disease. And if they have one, I think they want to get rid of it. So you got to remember natural barrier support is integral to that. We all understand that natural barrier support is important if you have a virus or a cold or anything else because it helps your immune system. Please understand, it also is important if you want a good sex life. It's something that's extremely intricate to that. So we've talked about vitamin C. We've talked about vitamin D. We've talked about zinc. Now let's talk about Relive Greens. And yes, Relive Greens has all that stuff in it too, just not in a concentrated dose. But Relive Greens is really important because of all the vitamins and wellness and how it protects your body and actually detoxes the body. I don't say this enough on the slides, but you've got chlorella, spirulina, cabbage, kale, aloe vera, barley grass, flaxseed, husk powder, apple cider. Oh my gosh, I love Relive Greens. Guys, it's my favorite. And not just because it's protecting my body, but it also is good for your overall sex life. So let's go on to the next slide and let's talk about why. Why is Relive Greens good for your sex life? For one thing, like I said, it detoxes the body. Broccoli is extremely important to hormonal balance. It influences it in many ways. People that have issues with hormones are often advised by doctors to take broccoli, as well as the other greens that are in Relive Greens. It also balances estrogen level, which is one of the things that was so important. Estrogen level is important to the whole immune system, but it's really important to sexual health. Men and women have estrogen. You got to balance it. It's really important that you protect it and then you balance it, right? And that's one of the things that it's able to do because of the phytochemicals. And then again, it has anti-inflammatory properties that really help with sexual health overall. This is not a made up thing. This is a reality that, again, people just aren't educated on. So let's go on to the next slide and let's talk about spirulina. Again, one of my favorites. And I know you guys think I have a lot of favorites because I do. But spirulina is extremely important because it really helps with nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is essential for an erection. I'll say that again. Nitric oxide is essential for an erection. You can't have an erection or a good erection without nitric oxide because it impacts sexual function in both men and women because of the blood flow. I want to say that again. Yes, with men, it's easier to tell, right? Because they have an erection or they don't have an erection. It's either hard or it's not hard. But the truth is, nitric oxide is equally important to women for blood flow and so that they have the hormonal support and they also have the inflammation control. So it's really important that you guys understand spirulina is a key factor. If spirulina can work on a brain tumor and can help reduce the size of a brain tumor, it can help with overall health, including your sex life. So it's a really important factor to be able to really impact the overall body. And I didn't talk enough on Zero N about the other components of Zero N and how important they are for the arginine content and how important they are to blood flow. But that Zero N is another huge component of that, as well as the key ingredients that are in Relive Greens. Let's talk about Chlorella next. Chlorella is important because of the antioxidant effects. So those of you that have issues with fertility or reproduction, it's really important that you take Relive Greens. I say this a lot. We've had a lot of people get pregnant on the Trinity, which is Clean Slate, Zero N, and Restore. But Relive Greens, if you haven't been able to have children, it's another key important factor that can really help. Chlorella actually is something that can actually hurt you as far as detoxification if it's made the wrong way or used in the wrong way. However, in our particular formula, we've used it in a format to really help break apart the toxins and detox, which is the component that you should have. And again, not all chlorella is made or sourced the same way, but we have a particular focus on this for this ingredient so that we can really help our root community. And it was made in a way to really support GLA, which is an important fatty acid, which regulates hormones that can, and if your hormones aren't regulated, just so you guys are known, just so you know, no matter how many times you have sex, you can't get pregnant. If your inflammation's too high and your stress is too high, no matter how many times you have sex, you can't get pregnant. So this is an important factor that really helps with the inflammation. It helps with the hormones, it regulates the body, and it helps with overall stress. Again, another key factor to you guys having the best sex lives possible, which includes the ability to procreate and to have children. Next slide talks about flaxseed. And flaxseed is something that if you look at countries around the world, they use this as a hormone. So flaxseed can be used as a paste when you grind it up. It's used in some of the African countries to really support, again, cardiovascular function and blood flow for men and for women for overall sexual functioning. It's very high in the omega 3s and fatty acids, and you guys are going to see a lot of your aminos and omegas and everything in the peptide formula as well, so you can add that to it. I think the peptide formula is going to be one of the most significant contributors to better sex lives in the next new year, but we'll talk more about that later. Flaxseed does have lignans, and basically that means that it balances, again, the hormones, and it really helps with reproductive health for women. So this is a key factor. I know that like with Priscilla and Alina and their group, they have like 4 or 5 people that have gotten pregnant on the root products. And we see this all over the world. And one of the reasons is because of the ingredients that are in these products and how it's helping detox and then support the body. It's very, very significant. It's highly soluble, and it's an insoluble, or it's high in soluble and insoluble fiber, which is really important. It's adequate for your gut health, which is extremely connected to your hormonal balance. So that's another reason flaxseed is important. My grandmother Merritt used to take flaxseed every morning and every night. So it was part of my cereal. She would put it in there and we would use it. And to this day, it's been one of my favorite ingredients to use. But it's really interesting to understand how much it helps with libido, how much it helps with erections, how much it helps with the overall women's reproductive health. And again, I want to say this, when it helps with the female's reproductive health, at the same time, it's helping the male because it's connected. It's a yin and yang. Never forget that. Energetically, it's a connection that really helps overall in every area. The next thing I want to talk about is the cayenne pepper. Cayenne pepper improves circulation heavily. It's something I eat on a daily basis, or at least every other day. It's important to me. I put it in food, jalapenos as well. I love spicy things because I know that it increases blood flow and improves circulation. It plays a major role in arousal and erectile function. So basically, I don't know if you guys know this, we talk about oysters, right? Causing people to have orgasms or feel aroused. Cayenne pepper is one of the other things that do that. I bet a lot of you guys didn't know that. I wanted to make sure you knew that. It also enhances mood. It also increases metabolism. So I was criticized heavily when I worked on this formula and I put this in there, but it's extremely important to me because I wanted to add the synergetic effect so that it would go, I can't say it goes past the brain barrier, but my goal was to communicate with the neurotransmitters of the brain and to go through the circulatory system and then to really impact all the neurotransmitters and all the enzymes in their body. And that's why I was extremely excited to use this particular type of format in this product that we have. The next one I want to talk about is pomegranate seeds. I don't know how many of you guys like pomegranate seeds, but I love them. My daughter loves them. They're really great. And it really helps with nitric oxide production. So what it means is it improves, again, we've talked about nitric oxide. You can't have an erection or you can't feel stimulated without nitric oxide, right? Extremely important to your whole sexual functioning for both men and women. This improves that and improves the blood flow. It also boosts testosterone and balances your hormonal profile. And again, it increases cardiovascular so that you have better sexual functioning. So that's why I keep saying you got to take Relive Greens. It's not just for your immune system, it's for your overall health. Maybe, just maybe, some of you guys want your husbands or wives to take it more than once a day. I take 3 teaspoons a day. It helps my immune system. It helps me feel better. And there's reasons for that. I can't say it's my favorite product because I change my mind, but it's something in my mind that I have to have every day in order to have the best day possible. So let's talk about immune defense shield next. We've gone over Restore, Relive Greens, Zero In. We've gone over Clean Slate. We have a whole new year where we're going through the new products that we'll have, and we'll update this deck so that we include that later as well. We have a few things on here I'm going to talk about at the end, but we have this whole line, right? Supporting hormonal health, supporting anti-aging, supporting longevity, supporting sexual health and spiritual health. Immune defense shield is really important because it's looking at DNA integrity. Your DNA integrity has to be intact in order for it to affect aging and disease and for you guys to have the best life possible. You've got K2, you've got NAD, you've got quercetin, vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin K2. So let's talk about some of those key ingredients and why they're important to sexual health. Vitamin K2 is extremely important. And Crowder, you can go to the next slide. Because of cardiovascular health. It really, I've said this before, your vitamin D and your vitamin K really need to go together. And you've got that in Relive Greens too, inside the greens and in Restore. But I thought it was really important for this particular formula to add it so that it could really help with blood flow. It's a crucial vitamin for sexual function. I wonder how many of you guys knew that. Sorry. On this phone call. Again, it's a huge component it's crucial for sexual function. Where did I get that? Tons of information and science shows that you have to have vitamin K2 to have good sexual function, that it elevates your ability to have sex. It also contributes to inflammation and helps with the overall well-being. And again, it's one of the main regulators of reproductive health and sexual function. It's the least talked about vitamin, and it should be one of the most talked about vitamins. It's because it's relatively new in the whole science community. And so it's kind of like the mitochondria. It's not talked about enough, but I really want this community to step out and really discuss it with people so people understand it. Let's talk about NAD next. It's the next slide. NAD talks about energy metabolism, and it really, NAD is something that talks in the body. So every time I talk about quercetin and NAD, I feel like they're communicators, right? They're basically energy network communicators, and they help with cellular production, and they really help with the whole process of the body. They repair the cells. I want to say it again. Repair the cells, help with longevity, repair DNA, and they actually activate enzymes that help with metabolism and aging. including in sexual health and reproductive health. A lot of people believe you can't have children after the age of 40. That is incorrect. There are people that have had sex even, or have had children even in 60s, right? But the truth is you have to take care of your body. You have to take care of your reproduction and reproductive cellular health. And that's one of the things that NAD does. And I think it's the most under-discussed one of the most under-discussed topics in the world that we've really got to bring to the forefront so that we can help people. Again, this is not about living behind a screen on social media. This is about real life. We're not avatars. We're people. We need interaction. We need physical health, and we need to interact. So we're past our time, so I'm going to go a little bit quicker. Let's talk about quercetin. Quercetin's the next slide. And if you look at quercetin, it again helps with inflammation. It helps with reproduction, oxidative stress. It helps with your blood vessel functioning, which you have to have in order to have sex. And it modulates hormones, estrogen and androgen receptors. It actually opens up the receptors so they receive things better. Quercetin is one of the ingredients that is the most underused. Quercetin, you guys hear about that, but if you really look at the quercetin, it's what it does and how it impacts things that are so essential to overall health. It's extremely, extremely important, and it really is connected to your sexual health. The next couple of slides, and I'm apologizing, I'm not going to talk as much as I should have about our new products because they're not out yet, but I will update this slide, and Patrick can remind me to update it when next year when we do New Year, New You. Rahm Roast is another thing that really helps. And I think it's so funny that people don't understand that this particular plant, if it's used in the right way, and the beans and what you roast, it can really help with sexual health. So let's go on to the next slide. Yes, it tastes good. Yes, it's been detoxed. Yes, it's a new process, but it also increases alertness, improves your mood. It helps with social and psychological aspect if you have the right type of coffee consumption, which we do. It impacts in a positive way psychological factors, and it reduces stress. A lot of people think that coffee increases stress. That's not true. It gives you more energy, and it helps synergetically work together. I've actually used coffee and tea beans numerous times in numerous formulas just for the synergy. So it enacts the ingredients I put in it so that you can basically have an experience of modulation in the body and metabolism because it's used the right way. I want to say that again. So you can metabolize and modulate and have molecular science the right way in your body, because this is a machine that's a human being that does increase things every day, and you should go up and be better every day. This should not be a factor where you're worried about your cognitive functioning, you're worried about your sexual and spiritual health, or your emotional and mental health. We need to have products that synergetically work together so that they can impact your health overall. I am not here to be everyone's mother. I am not, go on to the last slide, Kreider, with all the references. I want you guys to take a picture of some of the references so that you have these to use. I'm not here to be everyone's mother or to be the compass for what everyone does. I know everyone has a different life and everyone has a different belief. I was raised in a very strong family where we didn't really talk about this, and I probably haven't been the best communicator always with my children. From a science and psychologist perspective, when I've worked with patients on sexual health, I have always discussed healthy aspects, which include making sure that you protect yourself during sex, making sure that you understand that whatever you have in your body is going into someone else's body when you're having sex, and vice versa, is extremely important. That doesn't mean you should be worried all the time and you should never want to have sex. What that means is you have to understand the dynamic. Sex is spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical. And that's something that's a fact. You're energetically exchanging communication between cells. So it's something that's extremely amazing if it's done in the right way. But you want to have good partners that do the right thing. sex is part of the world. It's just part of it. We don't need to be embarrassed about it. We've got to address it in a positive way. So thank you guys so much. I hope you have an amazing rest of the week. I will see you guys tomorrow. We'll do more giveaways on the Instagram Live, and keep celebrating this month. So thank you so much. Have an amazing day.